beautiful race in US. There are not much excitement or actions, but the part in which we have actions had so many beautiful memories. And I think we can all see that the beautiful race and a lot of talking points, especially for the stewards, their inconsistency, and what a win for the Ferrari team. The Ferrari team and Charles Leclerc made good do of what they had. And remember the last update they brought were in Singapore. 8 teams brought upgrades. It was only Ferrari and Williams that didn't bring upgrades. And Ferrari was outstanding. All through the weekend, they look like the fastest. They've closed up to Red Bull. They are now about 8 points behind Red Bull in Constructors' Championship, which is open and which looks like if Ferrari can get a hold of it to second position in Mexico next week, oh yeah, so Red Bull should just forget. They should just stick to their drivers' championship with their fighting fan, which still seems not so written off because anything can still happen. And it started on a good note. The two Ferrari started third and fourth, and like Charles Leclerc said he knew that Max Verstappen will go all out for it, in which I knew because that's Max Verstappen for you. Whenever he's fighting for a championship and he has somebody close to him, remember in 2021, he'll go all out. He doesn't care if he takes you out or you take him out. He doesn't care. The major thing is, as far as both of you don't get points or he gets the point, that is his own at that point. But I think he still has some immature blood in him. He's getting better, but he still has some little immature blood in him. And I'll still say beautiful race. For Max Verstappen, he can do better. He will do better, and it's just this season. Going in for his fourth championship is just this season, and let's see how he'll be able to relate and how he'll be able to finish the remaining 5 races of the season. If there are still opportunities for teams like McLaren and Ferrari. For me, Mercedes don't look, even with the upgrades, like a team that are ready to come in and win. They are just off everything. All through the weekend, Mercedes were off pace with the upgrades, with the race. Lewis Hamilton was out of the race by lap 2 because of the car, and that has been all through the weekend. The car has been snapping, and we can see how the car snapped from George Russell yesterday. Even when Lewis Hamilton was not pushing as hard as he should push, the car snapped off. A lot of people would not see what happened. They might think it was just the driver's carelessness. Now, when you look at it, it was just the car snapping off. The car was not working with the hard tire for him. The wind was there, and the car just snapped off, and he lost the car, and it was nowhere. And I think that was a big one for him. And if you look at it, it was about overtaking Nico Hülkenberg. The wind just took him out, and it was off. And to Charles Leclerc, like I said, he did a good job. The Ferrari team did a good job, coming 1 and 2. That is after 18 years on American soil. What a great race for them. And they worked it out well. There was no way without undercut that they would not have come in 1 and 2 ahead of Red Bull or McLaren. McLaren were not on pace this weekend. With the upgrades, the car was not on par. And to Red Bull, they were just forcing, they were just trying to keep in the game. Don't drift off, stay in the game. That was the only thing. Red Bull were nurturing all through the race today. And I think they could have done better. They are back. The reason why Red Bull are back was, I've said it in past videos, that the same mistake Mercedes made, that was the same mistake Red Bull made. They went off, they thought they've designed the best car, trying to go podless, and they went off the floor and the body. And that was the only thing they changed this week, and the car looks strong. The floor and the body. That was what Mercedes could not do in 2 years when they were back. And I kept on saying it last year, the floor and the body. Let me say it again, the floor and the body, because these cars, they generate the downforce right from the floor. That's how powerful these cars are. Unlike the generation before this present generation cars, the aerodynamics is just there, their body, everything generates it. But now these ones have floor, as in they generate most of it from the floor, so you have to build a body around it that will be able to even push it more to the floor. And that was what they did, and they got it right. And that was what McLaren did right from last year, and they are on that trajectory up. So Red Bull did that, and they got back. But for Sergio Perez, did not have a good race today. Lewis Hamilton said that he has never spun in a race before, certainly, but now spinning is just like a home drill for him. For me, you can't beat it up. I think there's still a lot to do for the FIA and for the teams to get themselves settled in and to know what they are doing and how they are trying to, especially teams like Mercedes. There's still a lot for them to do. Mercedes have totally drifted off. With George Russell starting from the pit lane, with everything that happened yesterday, I thought, as I said, he should have started from the pit lane. They should make a lot of changes. Lewis Hamilton car, because that car did not perform, but Mercedes did not do anything to set that car out to run, and we also what happened. I don't know, because they really messed it up. Mercedes messed this up. I thought to be a very close race so that we can see more battles, more competition. But in this race, there was less battle. It was like a no competition, just for the Ferrari to just swing up, and they were just in it. And Vamos, they were gone. It was no competition for them. Sergio Perez, for me, it's a worst day for him, because Sergio Perez was having an opportunity to have gotten some better points, some decent racing today. But at the end of the day, he almost screwed his race up. Stayed behind Yuki Tsunoda for over 16 laps, and it was about relatively 10th closer and could not overtake Yuki Tsunoda, which shows the reason why the Japanese team behind Honda are saying they should give Yuki Tsunoda a hand or a chance in Red Bull, which we know, and I've said the reason why they would not do that. They won't do that in Red Bull. Red Bull will not give Yuki Tsunoda a chance. They would not, because they know that it's not part of their core. It's not part of what they need, so they would never give him a chance. Why would they give him a chance? It's a Red Bull. I've said it, so they won't. I have told the reason here a lot of times. The reason why they would not, they dare not, because it's not their project. Red Bull know their project. They were in partnership with Honda. They were able to take the advantage against Honda. Honda was able to take the advantage, and they were also able to take the advantage. But I think Red Bull is a no-no for them. They are looking at Liam Lawson that they just brought in to see how they can bring him up and use him next year for Sergio Perez. Because Sergio Perez really messed his race up, and at the end of the day, he ended up in 7th position, which looks decent for him. 7th position looks decent. Looking at where he's coming from, it looks decent. George Russell ended his race 6th with so much fight. Nico Hülkenberg, a great race. As has really improved. They are now ahead of Alpine. Liam Lawson, good race for him. Got some decent 2 points. Franco Colapinto, a decent 1 point for Williams. Now, George Russell took 5 seconds penalty for the same reason Max Verstappen did not take penalty, and his was even milder. Max Verstappen was worse. And I think this is the Red Bull thing. We've seen it. They knew that there was not meant to be a penalty, because during the race they were looking at the penalty to come from track limit to Lando Norris. But you've reported it already, and the stewards, most times under pressure, they bend and they make mistakes. I don't understand the kind of stewards that FIA are having recently that bends easily to pressure. They give in to the pressure. They are not as strong as they should be. Oh, Charlie Whiting. Miss the days of Charlie Whiting, a very strong person that has all the rules in his head. He knows what he's doing, because the advantage is there. The two of them left the track, though Max Verstappen was ahead on the apex, and I think nearly the two of them left the track. Should have just left them. In the case of Russell pushed Valtteri Bottas off the track and was given a penalty. Now, it should have been a penalty for Max Verstappen. He pushed Lando Norris off the track. So if there's no penalty for pushing Lando Norris off the track, which should have been a 5-second penalty, there should have been no penalty for Lando Norris overtaking him from the track, which should have been 5 seconds, erased. My own theory, because if you have given George Russell a penalty for something that happened on lap 17 and you gave him a 5-second penalty, why not do the same for Max Verstappen and say, okay, because this is this, pushed him off the track, it took the advantage, fine, no further investigation. Because the Red Bull team themselves knew they were not expecting penalty for that. It showed in their tone. And when they got the penalty, they were trying to defend it by going back to 2019, when the same issue happened between Max Verstappen and Kimi Raikkonen, and Kimi Raikkonen pushed him off the track and won the race. So the rules have changed. We are talking about 5-6 years ago to now. So I think there should be consistency in the rules, and the FIA of Formula One are not making it so transparent, because these drivers knows the rule, and Red Bull, they will do everything to win. That's one thing about Red Bull which I like about them. They fight for the win. They do everything, both on and off the track, in the race, inside the race. They do everything to make sure they win. So I don't know why McLaren fell off and did not really push for that, but I think there the FIA were not kind. They made that same call in 2019. A lot of it happened in 2021 when we had Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen's issue. They're pushing them off the track. One will take penalty, one will not. Meanwhile, in the race, we'll see a lot of it happening, and we'll see a role reversal from FIA F1 when the call will be so different. So I think the FIA needs to do something about consistency in the call. Aston Martin performed woefully today. Alonso did his best, but that car is off. The car is not even in the mode of competition. From the middle of last season, the Aston Martin had fallen off. Maybe next year or 2026, they'll come back. Now they're having Andre Newey. They'll come back. But for the remaining 5 races of the season, I do expect Aston Martin to be anywhere. They might end up still being 5th, but that 5th is even shaking if other teams come up with good points. But for the rest of the season, they don't look strong. Pierre Gasly looks strong today. He did a beautiful job, but unfortunately, by the time he changed to their tires, he was just off the pace. Their tires were not working on that car. He lost the pace, he lost progression, and it was not for him. And to Max Verstappen, great race. He knew the rules, he understands the rules, and he uses the rules. And then it happens, he's so fast, he comes on the radio, he keeps pushing, and that's one thing Max Verstappen does. He keeps pushing the rules against whoever is racing against him. The FIA will keep looking at it, keeps pressurizing his team, and they did. So great racing for him, great understanding of how to use the rules against his opponents in the race, which looks nice. To Williams, great race, no upgrades, they got points, and Albon never had it well this weekend, struggled all through the weekend. I think it still has to do with the setup of most teams that brought upgrades. Coming into a sprint race with upgrades sometimes shows that it is not the best. It's better you use old car for sprint races. I think that is one thing I've seen in the sprint races this year. Max Verstappen had won the 4 sprint races this year. But one thing I've seen is when you're coming to sprint race, use your old car. Don't bring upgrades. You can now use the upgrades when you have enough free practice to tune, correct, and do everything. And I think Mercedes will do that in the next race this weekend in Mexico. But for the racing, we enjoyed the first part of the race and the last part of the race. The hard racing between the top 5 at the beginning of the Grand Prix that lasted for about 4-5 laps, and the last part of the race, about 10 laps of Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, George Russell racing hard and giving us the best of races. So I hope we have a better one in Mexico, because Mexico next week, a higher altitude, about 3,000 meters above the sea level, we should see something spectacular. The teams would have been able to tune their upgrades and make it better, and we see a good racing. I hope we see a good racing. But up until then, congrats to Ferrari, congrats to Charles Leclerc on winning US GP in Texas. And I also think Ferrari deserved it, because in the last few years they've been taking pole, they've been doing a good job, but now they won it, which is a good one. They won it spectacularly, coming 1 and 2. Also, the medals, which is the cup, were not presented to the second and third. They were given tires because of the similarities and some things. The cup looks beautiful. Also think the organizers or track owners should look at how they can make it better next year, so that they don't have the same issue of now giving tires, but they'll give them the cup later. They should make it better so that it can look more and more outstanding. In the end, it was a good race. The remaining 5 races of the season will be a banger, to be startling, because these guys are going up for it. There are fights for the championship, the 2 championship, the constructors championship, and the drivers championship, in which we have in a 3-way team gang. So let's see what happens. Let's see which team can come up and do a wonderful job. We have the Ferrari, we have the McLaren, and we have the Red Bull, and now we have Max Verstappen, we have Lando Norris, and we have Charles Leclerc. Who comes on top? See you in the next video. I love you guys. Bye. Please like, share, subscribe. I love you guys. Bye.